Athenian dawn breaks in 427 BCE. The marble city hums with the pulse of gods and men. Inside a noble villa near the Acropolis, a child cries for the first time. Plato, son of Ariston and Perictione, descendants of kings and sages, priests whisper that Apollo's spirit hovered above the child, casting golden light across the courtyard. This birth, they say, will shape the mind of the world. As Plato grows, his eyes gleam with boundless curiosity. He studies geometry on cracked clay tiles, listens to philosophers at the agora, and watches the Athenian assembly debate justice. He is quiet, but his mind burns with questions. His father trains him for politics, but the boy dreams instead of wisdom and the nature of the soul. One afternoon, Plato witnesses an aged man speaking with uncommon calm amid noisy debaters, Socrates. The old philosopher questions everything, dismantling pride with reason. Plato, captivated, follows him day after day, his worldview reshaping. The encounter ignites a lifelong devotion. He feels the power of truth spoken without fear. Under Socrates' guidance, Plato learns that wisdom begins with admitting ignorance. They walk through Athens markets, questioning merchants, generals, poets. The young student's thoughts sharpen like a blade. He writes dialogues in secret, inspired by his master's paradoxes. The bond between them deepens, mentor and disciple, bound by love of truth. War drums echo across Attica. The Peloponnesian War casts its shadow on Plato's city. Hunger, fear, and chaos corrode Athens' once bright soul. Plato's family aligns with oligarchs, but he feels torn. He watches the ideals of justice crumble before ambition and blood. In this darkness, his belief in the philosopher's duty to guide rulers begins to form. Tragedy descends. The Athenian court condemns Socrates to death for corrupting the youth. Plato stands among the disciples as his master drinks the hemlock, serene and unbroken. Tears fall, but Socrates smiles, saying the soul is immortal. The scene brands itself upon Plato's heart, the image of truth dying at the hands of ignorance. Athens feels like a tomb. Plato leaves the city, seeking peace and meaning abroad. He sails across the Aegean, visiting Egypt, learning from priests and mystics about eternal forms and cosmic order. He records what he learns, blending reason with myth. His philosophy begins to take shape, a bridge between heaven and earth. In temples older than memory, Plato studies sacred geometry and the language of gods. The priests teach him of balance, measure, and the invisible harmony behind all forms. He realizes truth is eternal and unchanging, an ideal world beyond this one. His concept of the forms is born amid the incense and shadows of ancient Egypt. Years later, Plato returns to Athens. The city has changed, weary from war, hungry for stability. Yet, as he walks the streets, he feels a calling. He begins to write the dialogues of Socrates, immortalizing his master's voice. His works, Apology, Crito, Phaedo, rekindle Athens' lost conscience. The philosopher reclaims the spirit of inquiry. Determined to shape a better world, Plato purchases a grove near Athens dedicated to the hero Academus.
There he founds the Academy, the first institution of higher learning in the Western world. Students gather from across Greece. Let no one ignorant of geometry enter here, the gate proclaims. Philosophy is reborn. Under the shade of olive trees, young minds gather to hear Plato speak. His voice carries both warmth and command as he teaches geometry, ethics, and the immortality of the soul. Birds sing as he draws perfect circles in the dust, showing how the visible world imitates eternal truth. The Academy becomes a sanctuary of reason, where thought replaces politics as the art of the noble. In long night vigils, Plato writes the Republic. By the flicker of a lamp, he imagines a city ruled by wisdom instead of greed. He dreams of philosopher kings, rulers guided by truth and virtue. His pen moves like fire across the parchment. Athens sleeps, but in that moment, a new vision of civilization awakens. Plato's allegory of the cave takes form. Men chained in darkness mistake shadows for reality. One prisoner escapes, blinded by light, discovering truth beyond illusion. It is the story of every human soul. Plato teaches that only through philosophy can one ascend from ignorance to knowledge. His words echo through ages. News spreads that Plato's fame has reached distant lands. From Sicily arrives Dion, a young noble of Syracuse, earnest and curious. He listens to Plato's lectures with shining eyes, thirsting for wisdom. Their friendship grows, rooted in shared ideals. Plato sees in Dion the spark of a philosopher who might one day rule justly. Dion speaks of his homeland, of Dionysus I, the tyrant of Syracuse. He urges Plato to come and teach the ruler the ways of justice. Against his students' pleas, Plato agrees. Perhaps here lies a chance to create the philosopher king he has envisioned. He sets sail again, heart filled with hope and the salt wind of destiny. In the dazzling halls of Syracuse, Plato meets Dionysius I, proud, suspicious, and surrounded by luxury. The philosopher's calm words clash with the king's thirst for power. Court laughter hides daggers of envy. Plato speaks of virtue and justice. The tyrant sees only threat. The air grows heavy with intrigue. Rumors twist like serpents. Courtiers accuse Plato of plotting rebellion. Dion is exiled, and Plato is seized, a philosopher made prisoner by his own ideals. Shackled, he stares at the sea through iron bars, whispering, "No tyrant can enslave the mind." His fate seems sealed, but destiny is not yet done with him. Plato's life is bought by a friend, the philosopher Immerses of Cyrene, who pays his ransom. Freed from chains, Plato returns to Greece, his heart bruised but unbroken. He realizes that wisdom cannot be forced upon the unwilling. True change must grow from within. In his suffering, his philosophy deepens. Back at the Academy, Plato is welcomed like a hero returned from myth. His students gather as he speaks of his trials, of tyranny, justice, and the soul's endurance. He refines his ideas into harmony, blending experience with reason. The just man, he tells them, is happiest even when crushed by the unjust. The grove listens in silence. Years later, Dionysius II ascends the throne. Dion convinces Plato to try once more to guide a ruler toward wisdom. Despite his age, Plato agrees,
believing that one spark of truth can redeem a kingdom. He sails again toward Sicily, between faith and folly. The sea reflects both sunlight and storm clouds, mirroring the fate awaiting him. When Plato arrives once more in Syracuse, the young Dionysius II welcomes him with courtesy, yet beneath the smile lies insecurity. The court buzzes with whispers that Plato has come to rule the ruler. The philosopher speaks of justice and moderation, but the king hungers for glory, not virtue. The seeds of tragedy begin to stir again beneath the marble floors. As Plato teaches the young king, Dion's enemies grow restless. They twist his words, accusing him of conspiracy and manipulation. Jealousy fills the air like smoke. Dion is banished once more, his dream shattered. Plato remains, hoping to guide the tyrant, but feels the sands of patience slipping through his hands. Philosophy stands against power, and power always fears it. Dionysus grows paranoid. He imprisons Dion's friends and limits Plato's movements. The philosopher's words fall on deaf ears. The palace echoes with feasts and false laughter, but Plato sees the shadow of tyranny deepening. In his chamber, he writes by candlelight, "No soul can govern others until it first governs itself." His ideal of the philosopher king flickers like a dying flame. With help from loyal followers, Plato secretly escapes the palace and flees to the harbor under night's veil. The sea glitters faintly under the moon. As the ship sails away, he looks back at the distant lights of Syracuse, the city that could not be saved. In his heart, he buries his final hope of reforming kings. Back in Athens, the academy greets him with reverence. His students rush to him like sons to a father long lost. Plato, older and quieter, begins once more to teach. His eyes hold both sorrow and peace. It is not kings who must become philosophers, he tells them now, but philosophers who must learn to live without kings. Word reaches Athens. Dion has raised an army to free Syracuse from tyranny. Plato warns him to act with reason, not vengeance, but fate moves swiftly. Dion triumphs and enters the city as a liberator, only to be betrayed and murdered by those he trusted most. Plato grieves deeply. His dream of a just city ends in blood. Mourning and reflection fill Plato's later years. He pours his mind into new dialogues, Timaeus, Phaedrus, the Laws. He writes of creation, love, and the eternal structure of the cosmos. His words now move beyond politics to the very nature of being. The academy becomes a beacon for thinkers who seek divine order in reason itself. At the academy, philosophers debate passionately. Aristotle, Speusippus, Xenocrates. The air hums with argument and inspiration. Plato listens, smiling faintly, seeing the torch of inquiry passed on. His teachings evolve in living minds, no longer bound by him alone. The grove becomes a living organism of thought. In his final works, Plato envisions the universe as a living being, harmonized by a divine craftsman, the demiurge. He imagines stars as souls of gods, time as the moving image of eternity. His philosophy becomes a bridge between logic and the divine. In these last writings, his wisdom transcends man's politics and reaches toward the heavens. One serene morning,
Plato walks slowly through the olive grove of the Academy. The birds sing, and the sunlight dances on marble. He sits quietly under his favorite tree, closes his eyes, and drifts into eternal rest, leaving behind not a kingdom, but a world of ideas that would outlast empires. Athens mourns, but philosophy endures. The morning after Plato's passing, the Academy is silent. Students gather beneath the olive trees where he once spoke, placing garlands of laurel upon the stone seat he used. They do not weep loudly. Their grief is solemn, their reverence deep. The grove seems to breathe with his spirit. A soft wind whispers through the columns. Truth never dies. Among the mourners stands Aristotle, once Plato's brightest student. Though he differed from his master in thought, his respect is profound. He touches the marble steps, whispering, "You showed us how to ask." Soon he will leave Athens to forge his own path, but within him burns the same flame that Plato lit, the eternal search for truth. The Academy continues under Speusippus, Plato's nephew, who vows to preserve the teachings. Students debate geometry, virtue, and the nature of the soul. The words of Plato become scripture to thinkers who never met him, yet feel his presence in every question they ask. His school becomes a living temple of reason. Decades pass. Merchants and scholars carry Plato's writings beyond Athens, to Alexandria, to Rhodes, to far Carthage. His dialogues, copied on papyrus, sail across the Mediterranean like silent missionaries of the mind. Even as empires rise and fall, his words travel farther than any army ever could. In the great library of Alexandria, philosophers and mathematicians read Plato's works beneath the golden light of oil lamps. They debate his forms, his myths, his vision of divine reason. His influence fuses with Egyptian mysticism and Babylonian science, birthing a new age of thought. The fire of knowledge burns brighter than ever. Centuries later, the philosopher Plotinus revives Plato's vision, weaving it into a grand cosmic mysticism. He speaks of the One from which all existence flows. His disciples see Plato as the prophet of eternal unity. Through Neoplatonism, the Platonic flame finds new life, now divine, now transcendent, now eternal. Rome inherits Greece's legacy. Senators and generals read Plato's dialogues in marble atriums, seeking wisdom to govern. The Stoics adopt his moral discipline, the statesmen his vision of justice. Even in empire, the philosophers' dream of reason over power whispers like conscience in the ear of Caesar. As Christianity spreads, theologians find in Plato a bridge between faith and reason. Thinkers like Augustine reimagine his ideals. The world of forms becomes heaven. The good becomes God. Plato's thought, reborn in faith, shapes the spiritual architecture of the Middle Ages. His soul now speaks through cathedrals and prayers. 1,000 years later, Florence awakens. Scholars rediscover Plato's works, translating them into the languages of a new Europe. Marsilio Ficino reads the dialogues aloud to patrons and poets under candlelight. The Platonic dream of beauty, truth, and harmony fuels the Renaissance. Art, science, and philosophy reborn in his image. Centuries pass, yet Plato lives on. His words inspire scientists, poets, Revolutionaries. In every age, men return to his vision that knowledge is virtue, and the soul's journey is toward the light. In the halls of universities, his bust watches over generations. Plato, once a boy under the Athenian sun, has become timeless, an eternal voice guiding humanity toward wisdom. 17th century Europe, the age of discovery. As Galileo turns his telescope to the heavens, he recalls Plato's words, "God geometrizes continually." In that moment, the harmony of mathematics and the stars feels divine. The philosopher's dream of order in the cosmos guides the hand that charts the skies. In the halls of Königsberg, Immanuel Kant reflects on the limits of reason. He reads Plato's dialogues, realizing that the world we perceive is shaped by the mind, the shadow of true reality. The ancient allegory of the cave lives anew in philosophy's modern rebirth, where perception itself becomes the gateway to the eternal. Romantic poets, Shelley, Keats, Wordsworth, find in Plato a sacred language of beauty. "Beauty is truth," they write, echoing his dialogues. The Platonic ideal transforms art into philosophy. Love becomes divine ascent, imagination a ladder to eternity. The muses of Greece sing once again through the verses of Europe. Across the Atlantic, revolution brews. The founders of new nations quote Plato's Republic, shaping constitutions upon his ideas of justice and balance. The philosopher's ghost walks among them, whispering that the just state must be ruled by reason, not power. In the parchment and ink of democracy, Athens is reborn. In the studios of Europe, artists seek to capture what Plato called the form of the beautiful. Raphael, Da Vinci, and later Turner paint light itself as revelation, not just color, but spirit. The Platonic idea of ideal beauty floods the canvas, turning art into philosophy and vision into transcendence. As the 19th century dawns, science rises with thunderous certainty. Materialists claim the soul is illusion, yet philosophers like Hegel and Emerson defend the Platonic dream, the belief that spirit animates matter, that meaning transcends mechanics. The eternal debate between ideal and material continues like a storm over the mind of man. By the 20th century, Plato's teachings are woven into every classroom, every discipline. From political theory to quantum physics, his questions persist. What is reality? What is justice? What is truth? Professors across continents invoke his dialogues, proof that one man's thoughts can echo across millennia. In times of war and tyranny, thinkers remember Socrates and Plato, voices of conscience in dark ages. From Nazi Germany to Soviet gulags, forbidden philosophers whisper hope. Even in the cave, they say, the soul remembers the sun. The Platonic spirit becomes a weapon of peace against the brutality of ignorance. In the digital era, Plato's allegory of the cave finds haunting new life. Men stare at glowing screens, mistaking images for truth. The philosopher's ancient warning resounds louder than ever. Humanity once more enchained by shadows, craving the light of understanding. The question returns, do we still seek the real? Time folds upon itself. The agora, the academy, the digital classroom, all are one. A single figure walks through history, torch in hand, leading minds from shadow to light. His name is Plato. He taught that ideas are immortal, and through him, so too is humanity's hunger for truth. The philosopher smiles across eternity, still asking, still guiding. Plato, now older, walks through the groves of the academy as the morning mist curls around the olive trees. His eyes are weary, yet his spirit burns bright with purpose. He contemplates the weight of truth, the responsibility of knowing what others do not, and the pain of being misunderstood by those who fear it. His students follow, silent and reverent, sensing the gravity of his thoughts. In a grand lecture beneath marble columns, Plato delivers his most daring idea, the philosopher king. He declares that only those who love wisdom are fit to rule, that power without knowledge corrupts, and that justice requires enlightenment. The students sit in awe, the notion shaking Athens to its core. Plato's voice rises like thunder, echoing through time. Word spreads across Athens about Plato's radical theories. Some praise his brilliance, while others mock him as an idealist, detached from reality. In the agora, citizens debate his ideas fiercely. Philosophers, politicians, and merchants clash in arguments that seem to reshape the air itself. Plato listens from a distance, knowing truth often breeds conflict. A young and brilliant student named Aristotle arrives at the academy. His sharp intellect dazzles everyone, even Plato. Their dialogues are intense, logic against idealism, reason versus form. Plato sees in Aristotle both a prodigy and a challenger, perhaps the future of philosophy itself. The Academy's fires burn brighter with their debates. Aristotle challenges Plato's theory of forms, questioning whether the ideal world truly exists apart from the physical one. Plato listens, sometimes smiling, sometimes frowning, as he defends his belief that truth lies beyond mere perception. Their debates become legendary, respectful but fierce, shaping the destiny of Western thought. Plato grows reflective as he watches new thinkers shape their own paths. He realizes that every teacher becomes a stepping stone, that one day Aristotle will surpass him. Instead of bitterness, he feels pride. Knowledge, he believes, is like a flame. It must be passed on, even if it burns the hand that carries it. Plato begins writing of a mysterious lost civilization, Atlantis, the utopia that fell from its own arrogance. He weaves myth and philosophy together, warning humanity that even the most advanced societies collapse without virtue. His tale stirs fascination and skepticism, but he smiles, knowing allegory is sometimes the only path to truth. Time catches up with the great philosopher. Plato's body weakens, though his mind remains aflame. Students gather around his bed, weeping softly as he continues to dictate thoughts on virtue and immortality. Do not mourn wisdom, he tells them, for truth never dies. Only those who chase it do. In his final days, Plato engages in one last conversation with Aristotle, not of logic, but of life. They speak of friendship, destiny, and the eternal nature of the soul. Plato smiles faintly and whispers, "The journey of the mind is endless." With that, he closes his eyes, his final breath blending with the dawn wind through the olive trees. Plato dies peacefully, surrounded by his disciples. Athens mourns. The man who bridged heaven and earth, reason and faith, has left his mortal form. His academy continues to thrive, his words spreading far beyond Greece, carried by time like whispers of eternal truth. A marble bust is carved in his honor, the face of a man who dreamed the world into thought. After Plato's passing, the academy falls into a somber stillness. His students wander through the marble courtyards in mourning, feeling as though the voice of reason itself has faded into the heavens. Yet his teachings echo in their minds, each word a guiding light that pierces the sorrow. Speusippus, his nephew, steps forward to continue the legacy. Speusippus takes the helm of the academy, determined to preserve Plato's vision. He gathers the disciples and reminds them, the master's voice still speaks, in thought, in virtue, in reason. Slowly, the halls come alive again with discussion and debate. The fire that Plato lit burns anew in their hearts. Aristotle, though once Plato's greatest student, leaves the academy to forge his own path. He bows before Plato's tomb, whispering, "You taught me to question, and so I must." He travels east to Macedonia, where destiny awaits in the form of a young prince named Alexander. The torch of philosophy passes from teacher to student to conqueror. Plato's works travel far beyond Greece, carried by traders, scholars, and wanderers. In distant lands, philosophers gather to read his dialogues aloud, marveling at his vision of a world governed by reason. His words cross seas and borders, transforming into seeds of thought that will one day bloom in Rome, Alexandria, and beyond. Generations after Plato's death, new schools of thought arise: Stoics, Epicureans, Cynics, each echoing fragments of his wisdom while forging their own paths. Yet all of them, knowingly or not, walk in his shadow. In the great halls of learning, the name Platon becomes synonymous with truth itself. In the grand library of Alexandria, scholars collect Plato's writings, translating them into Egyptian, Hebrew, and Latin. His ideas become the foundation for early scientific and spiritual exploration. The merging of Greek thought and Eastern mysticism begins, and from this fusion, the world's understanding of reality deepens. Centuries later, a philosopher named Plotinus revives Plato's vision, blending it with divine mysticism. He teaches that all things flow from the One, the perfect source Plato had glimpsed long ago. The ancient flame burns brighter once more, bridging reason and spirit, philosophy and faith. As the Roman Empire rises, Plato's ideals influence senators, poets, and emperors alike. His republic inspires both governance and rebellion. Even in the chaos of conquest, his dream of a just society persists, whispered in marble halls, recited by philosophers under the watch of Caesar statues. Early Christian thinkers, seeking to reconcile faith with reason, rediscover Plato's words. They find harmony between his vision of the soul's immortality and their belief in divine truth. Augustine himself calls Plato the philosopher nearest to Christianity. The light of Athens merges with the flame of faith. 1,000 years after his death, Plato's spirit lives on, in books, in art, in every mind that dares to ask why. His academy, though long gone, exists wherever truth is sought. The philosopher who once walked beneath olive trees now walks within eternity, his ideas woven into the fabric of human thought itself. As the Dark Ages descend upon Europe, Plato's scrolls gather dust in forgotten monasteries. The flame of philosophy flickers low, hidden behind the thick walls of ignorance. Yet a few monks, guided by whispers of divine wisdom, secretly preserve his writings, copying them by candlelight, letter by letter, against the tide of oblivion. Centuries later, the world stirs again. The Renaissance dawns, and human curiosity bursts forth like sunlight breaking through clouds. Scholars in Florence rediscover Plato's works, translating them into Italian and Latin. The Academy of Florence arises, echoing his ancient school. Once more, art and wisdom intertwine. Artists like Leonardo and philosophers like Ficino breathed new life into Plato's ideals, the beauty of reason, the divinity within humanity, the harmony of the cosmos. The world, once chained by dogma, begins to rediscover wonder. Plato's dream of perfect forms now inspires painters, sculptors, and poets. In the great cities of Europe, Florence, Venice, Paris, Plato's ideas ignite debates once more. Scholars discuss whether reason or revelation should rule the human soul. His concept of the soul's ascent becomes a beacon for thinkers yearning to reconcile faith and intellect. The dialogues return to life in every hall of learning. Plato's belief in a rational universe inspires scientists like Galileo Galilei and Kepler, who seek the mathematical harmony behind the stars. To them, studying nature is to read the divine geometry of existence, Plato's world of forms mirrored in celestial motion. Philosophy becomes science's eternal companion. The Enlightenment brings Plato's ideals into politics and reason. Thinkers like Rousseau and Voltaire admire his quest for justice and rational governance. The philosopher king becomes a symbol of enlightened leadership, a dream still pursued by humanity. His republic now shapes revolutions and republics across continents. The Romantic Age arrives, and poets embrace Plato's vision of love as divine ascent. They see beauty as a bridge to truth, a language of the soul. Artists paint lovers gazing toward stars, echoing his Symposium. Even amid passion and chaos, Plato's philosophy whispers that love is the path to eternity. Industrial smoke rises, machines hum, and empires expand. Yet Plato's ideas endure. In the age of reason, philosophers like Kant and Hegel wrestle with his legacy, seeking to unite the ideal and the real. They find in him not answers, but the eternal challenge to think beyond appearances. As the 20th century dawns, scientists, writers, and dreamers still walk Plato's path. Physicists searching for hidden realities echo his vision of unseen forms. Psychologists explore the cave of the mind, discovering shadows of truth. In art, film, and science, his metaphors breathe anew, timeless, transcendent. Today, Plato's spirit lives in classrooms, universities, and hearts across the world. Every thinker who questions, every artist who seeks perfection, every dreamer who believes in truth, all are his students. The Academy has no walls now, it spans the globe. The philosopher's voice still whispers through time, "Know thyself." As the 21st century begins, humanity enters a new kind of cave, the digital one. Screens flicker, casting light and shadows that captivate billions. People mistake illusion for reality, echoing Plato's ancient allegory. Philosophers and technologists alike ask, are we freer now or more enchained than ever? The internet becomes a realm of ideas and debates, much like Plato's Academy reborn. Forums, universities, and digital communities carry his torch, searching for justice, knowledge, and meaning in a borderless world. Yet just as in Athens, wisdom and ignorance battle endlessly for dominance. Artificial intelligence emerges. Humanity's attempt to create rational beings in its own image. Scholars invoke Plato's forms, comparing AI to the ideal of pure reason. But others fear that machines, without virtue or soul, may become tyrants without wisdom. The question of the philosopher king returns in digital form. Social media transforms truth into spectacle. Like prisoners in the cave, users watch the shadows of algorithms, reflections of what they already believe. The philosopher's warning about illusion returns stronger than ever, that truth requires struggle, and freedom begins with turning away from the screen's light. Across the world, digital academies arise, open platforms where anyone can learn philosophy, art, and science. From ancient Athens to global cyberspace, the spirit of the academy transcends time. Students debate Plato's dialogues from every continent, connected not by marble halls, but by curiosity and light. Humanity pushes beyond Earth, seeking perfection among the stars. Scientists build colonies on distant planets, quoting Plato's idea that the soul longs for the heavens. Spacecraft glide like thoughts through the cosmos. Mankind's search for the world of forms transformed into a literal journey toward the infinite. In an age of crisis and disinformation, people long for wisdom in leadership once more. Thinkers revisit Plato's call for rulers guided by virtue, not greed. His words echo in debates on ethics, governance, and truth. The dream of the philosopher king, ancient yet eternal, flickers again in the human heart. Philosophers and scientists explore the simulation hypothesis, the notion that reality itself might be an illusion. They find in Plato's allegory of the cave a mirror to this cosmic mystery. If the universe is but code, then Plato's question still stands. What lies beyond the veil of perception? Through centuries of change, one truth remains. Humanity still wrestles with Plato's eternal questions. What is justice? What is truth? What is the good? His dialogues are more alive than ever, sparking reflection in classrooms, forums, and hearts. Time changes, but wisdom remains timeless. In a vision beyond time, Plato stands on a hill beneath a cosmic sky, the Milky Way his new academy. He gazes upon the vastness of creation, smiling at how far humanity has come, and yet how close it still stands to the beginning. The mind, he whispers, is the bridge between worlds. His legacy glows eternal, written in the stars. Millennia after Plato's birth, his works reside in every great library on Earth, digital and physical alike. From the halls of Oxford to the databanks orbiting Mars, his dialogues continue to guide generations. Scholars debate the Republic beside AI historians, blending wisdom and technology into a new renaissance of thought. In a quiet study, a lone philosopher contemplates Plato's words, "The soul takes flight when it remembers." She gazes into her reflection on a computer screen, realizing that philosophy is not ancient, it is eternal. The world changes, but the human soul remains bound to the same mysteries that Plato once sought to solve. In a dreamlike vision, Plato walks once more through his academy, but this time his students come from all ages and lands. Aristotle, Socrates, Hypatia, Augustine, Newton, Einstein, all gathered beneath a boundless sky of stars and equations. The search for truth unites us, he says. We are all its students. On Earth, thinkers build a new institution inspired by Plato's ideals, the Global Academy of Reason. It is open to all, guided by ethics, truth, and the pursuit of understanding. Its crest bears a single olive branch beneath the words Sapientia Aeternum, eternal wisdom. From children learning logic to scientists debating consciousness, Plato's questions echo across every discipline. His dialogues become a living conversation between philosophy and reality. Humanity, once divided by borders and beliefs, rediscovers unity through thought. The world becomes his classroom. Plato's ideas about the immortal soul find new meaning in modern science. Quantum thinkers and metaphysicists explore consciousness as an energy that transcends death. The philosopher's voice whispers through equations and starlight. The soul remembers because it never truly leaves. Artists, filmmakers, and poets continue to draw upon Plato's vision. His cave becomes cinema. His forms become imagination. His republic becomes storytelling itself. Every brushstroke, every melody, every word that seeks meaning is a tribute to his dream of beauty and truth intertwined. In a symbolic dawn, Plato's spirit awakens once more among the olive trees of ancient Athens. Children play where his students once debated, unaware that they walk on sacred ground. He smiles, knowing the cycle continues, that thought, like the soul, never dies, but is reborn with every curious mind. From Earth to distant galaxies, the search for wisdom continues. Plato's teachings become part of the universal story, the yearning of intelligent life to understand its place in existence. Somewhere among the stars, new civilizations may one day read his words and whisper, "We too seek the good." The story closes as Plato stands before an endless horizon of light, the true world of forms. He sees beauty, justice, and truth not as ideas, but as living entities. Turning once more to the viewer, he smiles. Reality begins where thought dares to reach. And with that, he steps into eternity, his mind now one with the cosmos.